What's up, everybody? It's David Lowe with the 4K Lowdown, and it is time for a midnight review of Dune. So, this is my first 4K watch of the year, so I'm really excited about that. It was a good start for me. I was really impressed with the 4K transfer, in particular, the sound. The sound was really, really good. So, I'm going to give the sound a 10. The picture, the HDR was really good. Not perfect, but it was good. So the picture is going to get a 9. So remember these scores when we come down to the end. Sound is a 10, picture is a 9. That is a 19 that we will add to the score and average again for the actual 4K score. So there'll be a score of the movie and there'll be a score of the 4K rendering. All right. So let's talk about the 10 aspects of the film. So first off, we got the basic 5, which we talked about in a previous video. If you haven't seen that, feel free to go back and watch it, but we're going to kind of go over those anyway. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the cast. We look at the cast, and I can look at this cover and go, holy crap, it's a 10, right? So I'm looking at it, and here we go. Javier Bardem, Jason Momoa, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin, Zendaya, Timothy Champagne. I don't know his name for sure. So he gets 1 point. Oscar Isaac. And then there's other people in the movie that I knew by name. So easily a 10 for the cast. That's a great start, right? So the second aspect that we want in all films is the acting. So I'm looking at the quality of the acting as compared to the cast. And I think the acting was really good, but what kind of sets it back is that this is a remake and not a reboot. So the dialogue is almost verbatim to the original movie. So there wasn't a whole lot of acting differences between this film and the original film. I did find some things better. I probably give the acting of this one a better score than the original movie, but it doesn't get a perfect score. So I'm going to give this an 8 for the acting, and it's because it's a remake. So there was really nothing different about the dialogue. There's some things that I really liked that were different here than in the original movie, but it doesn't really fall into the acting. So, going to the plot. That's the third thing that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a plot. The plot is the concept, the basic concept of the movie. And I'm going to read what I have for the plot. In the far future of humanity, Duke Leto Atreides accepts stewardship of the dangerous desert planet Arrakis, the only source of the most valuable substance in the universe. So the plot is like the original movie, is like the book. So that's a 10. If you are a fan of the story, a fan of the plot like I am, then this is a 10. Full on 10 right off the bat. All right. So we got 10 for cast, 8 for acting, 10 for plot. The next part is the ending. Here's where this falters a little bit. I knew this was coming, but I didn't know how they were going to do it because, in the beginning of the movie, and everybody should know this, so if I'm spoiling something, I apologize, but it starts off and it says part 1 in the beginning of the movie. It also says on the posters, it begins. So you know that they broke this movie in half. So there's a second part that's going to be coming out later. That being said, I wasn't happy with where they ended it. So I'm not going to give full marks for that. That's going to put me, I'm going to give the ending a 6, which is a pretty low score considering the movie. But like I said, not happy with where they ended it. I think they could have ended it a little bit before or a little bit after that point. But I guess I understand why they did it, but not giving it full marks. So, aspect number 5 that I'm looking for is the story. The story I want, beginning, middle, and end. Give me closure, give me a finish. You know, the ending doesn't have to pertain to the story. I knew what to expect coming into this for the ending, but I still wasn't happy about it. But the story is still the story. It's still based on the book, based on the original movie. So I got to give that a 10. The story is a great, great story. It's amazing. So, okay, first 5 aspects. Cast, we'll start at the beginning. Cast, 10. Acting, 8. Plot, 10. Ending, 6. Story, 10. Total score, hope my math is right, 44. So that's pretty darn good. So with a 44 for the first 5 aspects, if I were to just score it based on that, the movie would get an 8.8. That's that's a real solid score to start. Okay. So now we're moving to the last 5 aspects. What I'm looking for, because this genre and type, I'm looking for specific things. So the genre is science fiction. As a science fiction movie, I'm looking for 3 things. I'm looking for CGI, good CGI, or special effects if it's not CGI stuff. I'm looking for a good pace. I want you to keep me interested. Don't lose me. And I want to see some good technology. Some real good future stuff. Okay, so for CGI, I gave it a 10. CGI, beautiful. The the visuals, the planets, you know, the the desert, all that stuff, really, really good. Really good CGI. So 10, perfect score for that. Really good stuff. Then comes the pace. And this is where the movie falters for me. Because first time I watched it, I fell asleep. I I mean, and I started the movie and I loved it. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is great. I love it. It's working out just like the original movie. Everything was great." And then about a half hour from the end, I passed out. I missed the last half hour of the movie. So, I had to go back and rewatch it. And because of that, it wasn't too late at night. It wasn't like I was trying to watch it at 2 in the morning. I had to go back and rewatch the last half hour. I was happy I did, but that throws the pace down a lot. So I got to give the pace a 4. And, it was the same with the original movie. The original movie was really slow. This movie is really slow. And you got to think of it this way, the movie is methodical. It really goes into detail and tries to explain every little thing. Um, so you understand like every nuance. Like, if you make waffles, you know how you try to get syrup in each little cranny, each little hole of the waffle. You want to try to get syrup in there. That's what it feels like when you're watching this movie. Is they're trying to get syrup in every single nook and cranny of that waffle. And to be honest, they don't need to do that. But I get it. That's what they did with the first movie. The book is really detailed like that. So I understand, but I wasn't happy about it. So it gets a 4 for the pace. Third thing is technology. So I like to see technology. I like to see futuristic stuff. So, spaceships and flying vehicles and laser weapons and force fields and all kinds of stuff. And they had some great tech. They also had some primitive items, which were pretty cool. And if you if you know anything about the original film, it's the same type of thing. So I'm going to give it a really good score for technology, but not a perfect score. So I'm giving it a 9 for technology because the technology is there. It's really good. There's just a touch of primitive stuff that makes you think, okay, it's in the future, but there's some things that even we don't do anymore. That made me take a little bit of a pause, but it was like the original film. Still good score. Okay, moving on. Now we talk about the type. So I'm calling the type that this is a movie about the future because, to be quite honest, this takes place in the year 10,191. So for there's two aspects of future movies that I want to see. The first one is that I want to know that it's taking place in the future. Not necessarily technology wise, but everything. I want to see that everything's different. And that in spades tells us that with the spice and the aliens and the worms and all that stuff, 10 across the board. So it's way in the future. I know it's in the future. Everything looks different. Great job there. The last thing I want intensity. I want to feel like something's hanging in the balance. Like, you know, like in this case, you know, this, you know, world's being threatened and all this stuff is going on and really a lot's happening, but I didn't quite feel the intensity that I wanted to feel. I wanted more out of that, but I was satisfied with what I got. So for intensity, I gave it an 8. All right, so let's go over the second half. For CGI, I gave it a 10. For pace, a 4. For technology, a 9. For its ability to be in the future, a 10. And for its intensity, an 8. So that totals 19, 23, 33, 41. I didn't think that was right. So 44 for the first 5, 41 for the second 5, for a total of 85. So divide that by 10, and Dune, the remake, gets a total of 8.5 out of a possible 10. That is a really solid offering for the year and a potential 4K award winner, or at least nomination for 4K of the year. All right, so remember we talked about the 4K scores. Sound was a 10 and picture was a 9. So 19 plus 85 is 104. 104 now divided by 12, because now I'm judging 12 aspects, is 8.66 repeating. So we're going to round it up to 8.7. So its 4K score is an 8.7, but the movie score itself is an 8.5. The 4K score is mainly for my benefit. So when I'm going to do my nominations for 4K of the year, that's the score I use for that one. All right, so there we go. Dune gets an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's a solid watch. I believe you have to be a fan of the original movie, or at least the book, in order to be able to get through this, because it is going to drag in the middle and toward the end of the movie. I'm not happy with where it ended, but I'm really looking forward to the second part. All right. Thanks everybody for watching. This has been the Lowdown, and we'll see you again real soon.